Hi everybody, welcome back. It's Laura at Hyperstamper. I just finished another antique junk journal. This one, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I have had this book for a really long time, but it had no spine. It had been long ripped off, and the cover is actually very plain. So this is the original lettering up here. Lewis Carroll, of course, who's the author of the classic Alice in Wonderland. So I pulled this plate from inside the book, and it's one of the most iconic images from the Alice in Wonderland story. And I put it on the cover. So it's the original plate from inside this book on the cover, just to give it some oomph. I added some ribbons here to match that beautiful cover, put some corner protectors on here because they were quite worn, and added some vintage crochet on the spine repair. And yeah, let me show you this before I put it inside my Etsy shop, hyperstamper.etsy.com. And let me just straighten that. Yeah, let's go for a little tour. And remember, every single thing in here is authentic. There's no digitals, no commercial products, no purchased anything. It's just all original antique and vintage ephemera. So here's the original front page that was inscribed in 1944. So the book is actually older than that. And I love the aged color of these pages. And I love this. This was something that caught my eye as soon as I opened it. Look at how the printer did that wonderful swirl. And this is a very famous little poem in the book. Quite fun. I enjoyed reading that. And then over here I have one of these little booklets I said in my last video that I'm playing with, and it's just full of vintage pieces here. That's actually from 1885, so that's an antique piece. That's from an antique book cover, made into a journaling tag, a vintage recipe card, and some vintage botanical pages there into a mini booklet, inside a mini booklet, inside a booklet. Yep, it's like the Inception journal, a book inside a book inside a book. This is just a really fun little pocket here that you can fill yourself with anything. I might put a little surprise in there. Isn't that cool? And then over here we have this 1932 page from the France Almanac, Paris France Almanac, sorry, 1932, so pre-war, which is very cool. And then this is one of my 1938 Flinch cards, the number 6. And I can change that out if somebody wants me to change it. Purchase, you just leave me notes about things you like, and I'll include extra ephemera for you. If you have a certain hobby or interest or date that you want, I can certainly add that. Over here, I love this little page here from the American Literature book. That one's an Edgar Allan Poe piece. And then this is from a vintage, over 50 years old, botanical flowers, Wild Flowers of America book. I love this from a vintage book here on women. Really fun plate here at the toy store. Isn't that great? And just a lovely plate here from a history book. This little pocket here has this wonderful old postcard in it. Look at the little cottages there. And that is from about the 1930s. And this here is also from the 1930s, from a dictionary. Look at how fun that is. All the flags of the nations. It's really quite beautiful. And you can tell it's old because the flags have changed very much since this was printed. This is fun. This is from a vintage recipe book. I love the color of the paper, and it's all things to do at an outdoor barbecue or party. So it's actually got some really fun recipes, but I love the graphics. Now this here is from 1885, and it is just a beautiful place. Come to see these scenes of peace. Isn't that beautiful? You can journal on the back of that as well. And this is from the 1800s as well. That's a German marbled page from inside an antique book, so you can have fun with that. That's how I received it there, with the little clipped corner. That's an antique book page there. This is a hand-typed antique research page on 1887. This is a 1940s theater arts page. Look how cool is that? Another wonderful American literature page here. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh, I just love it so much. And this is the original spine. That's all that I could save from the spine. So I turned it into a belly band. And in the belly band, I just have a nice little image here from a vintage book with antique paper on the back for journaling. 1950s embroidery book page. And that's another plate here from a vintage book, and that is Goldilocks. There's the 3 porridges there. And then this is just a really fun magazine page Look at these fashions from the 50s. Isn't that fabulous? I just love it. And on the back here as well. Just great. New York fashions. And then this beautiful plate here from that embroidery book. Another vintage plate here. And this is a vintage invitation from the early 70s. Is that fun? Oh, you can just have a lot of fun with that, repurposing it or just use it. And this is obviously from a dictionary, a vintage dictionary, antique paper on the back for journaling again. And yeah, just to put that Alice in Wonderland topper up there. Theater Arts. And then this here is a vintage ledger page here. So you can use the lines there for journaling. Just a fun little pocket here. And look at this amazing baby card from the 50s. Congratulations. It's like a book. Look at how fun this is. Isn't that wonderful? I just love it. So that's a pretty special one. And then up here is a vintage recipe book here. So I was going to cover it, but it actually has some pretty sweet little recipes on there. So I left it alone. And then here is another great page from the 1920s. More antique paper for journaling on both sides of that. And this is from the 1800s. Pumping Well on Oil Creek. That is super, super old. This is the interior spine of this book. As you know, I love interior spines. I love the texture of them. They're a little grungy, but I think they're fabulous. And just some vintage doily here. And this is from 1925 art education book. And that is just all about color and how to use color. I love this from the 1800s on the flower. Is that fabulous? Oh, I really like that page a lot. Another American literature page here. And there's one of the plates from inside the book, Alice in Wonderland, from this book, I should say. And then this is just a really wonderful poem here from a vintage book that you can journal on as well. And this came from an 1800s book. So I turned it into a little journaling spot. That's from the 1800s as well. Down there, there's beautiful flowers. And this is from the early 1900s on how to play games with kids using your fingers and your toes. So it's a really cool book. That's an original book there. And how, from those songs, like Itsy Bitsy Spider sort of things. And this is from 1904, from the Freckles book. Got a beautiful bouquet of flowers here. This is a vintage pattern page, transfer page. There's another one of those 1800s plates. That's the Pirates of the Mississippi. And like, how cool is that? That is a brand new car. The little quiz. Is that car from the USA, Britain, or Sweden? I do not know the answer. This is another 1923 Stickum page. And you can see where the child has cut out the image and pasted it into where it belongs in the book. I think it's sweet. 1950s receipt there for journaling on the back of and the front. Another American literature page. And then another one of those wonderful Freckles pages. So I hope you love it as much as I loved making it. I hope you'll subscribe and visit back soon. Bye for now.